Where is that bat? Oh, just when you need it. Oh, hello. It's good to see you again in my dressing room. I thought you were something else, but I'm afraid he hasn't shown up yet. Well, since you're here, I suppose I can tell you another tale. But I'm afraid I'm going to have to be doing a manicure while I tell you. Oh. Well, let's get into it then. Today's stories are two true stories from Reddit. Both stories about driving alone at night and what you can run into. Our first story is called Watcher in the Woods by user pizzazansari. This is possibly the weirdest encounter I've ever had. It happened after I dropped a friend off after a late night of films at my flat. The route to and from her home back to mine was straightforward. However, on this evening, there were roadworks cutting off nearly all the routes back to my home. I must have circled the only open roundabout about 10 times before deciding to take an exit that I knew eventually connected to my town. This exit went through an isolated and rural area, which meant my phone's network and data stopped working. I'd grown up not far from there and had driven through it before during the day, so felt up to the task. This area was home to a large expanse of woodlands. I was aware these woods had developed a reputation for being dangerous after dark, initially due to drug deals, but in the last few years due to a series of stabbings and rapes that's gone unresolved. They're still unsolved, I think. They're not the kind of woods anyone could, or would, want to camp overnight, or spend time in generally. I wasn't sure if I had a sharp turn or exit incoming, and so I drove very slowly down the road that ran alongside the woods. I'd only been going for about a minute until something clanged against my car. I didn't hit or drive over something, no. Something struck my car while it was moving. I stopped the car immediately and pulled over to the side of the road. I debated getting out to check the damage, but chickened out. It was past 2 a.m. These were some dense woods, and I liked horror movies too much to be so silly. Staying inside the car, I readjusted the side mirrors to check the damage, and, luckily, had parked under streetlights so I could see fairly well. For my insurance, I needed to know what damage there was and potentially take a picture. Oddly, there was a screwdriver on the ground a few feet behind my car, right where I'd heard the clang, sat out in the middle of the road. I didn't have time to take a photo because something caught my eye on the other side of the road in the woods. The streetlights on the other side of the road lit up a few feet into the woods, and under that yellow light, something had moved. I'm not sure if he moved or turned around, but that's when I first noticed him, in the woods, just a foot or so back from the road. It was a man. I could see his details in the streetlight, and remember it so clearly because it was so incongruous to see another person at that time of night in such a rural and isolated place. He had his back to me. He was mid-height, wore a black leather jacket and dark blue jeans. From the skin exposed, not that there was a lot, I noticed that he had pale white skin and reddish hair. He was stood still and very upright. His hands were by his side, unclenching and clenching. but he kept his back to me the entire time. His head was positioned like he was looking straight ahead into the woods, but it just looked pitch black around him from where I was sat. There were no other cars parked or even driving by on this road. Besides this man and me in my car, the road and the rest of the woods looked empty. Before he could turn around or potentially throw anything else, I sped out of there, side mirrors all askew. When I checked my car in the morning, I did have a new scratch in the paintwork as well as a slow leak in that tire, but frankly that had been the last thing on my mind when I got home that night. I wonder what would have happened if I'd gotten out of my car to examine what the damage was. I can't rationalize why anyone would be standing out in those woods at gone 2 a.m. with his back to me. It all felt very Blair Witch Project. TLDR. To the random stranger who probably threw a screwdriver at my car and turned your back so I wouldn't see your face. Let's not meet again. Ever. Cheers. Our next story is titled, I stopped for a woman running in the road at 1:30 a.m. I still don't know what I saved her from or what I escaped. By Reddit user MCUnity_. And just a warning, this story has been labeled terrifying. My name is Christoph. I'm an 18-year-old guy living in Gatineau, Canada. For those who don't know the area, Gatineau is a pretty calm city right next to Ottawa, about 15 minutes from downtown Ottawa, but on the Quebec side. I grew up speaking French, so apologies if my English isn't perfect. This happened about 2 months ago, and I still think about it almost every night. I had spent the evening at my girlfriend's place. She lives about 25 minutes from me by car. I left around 1:30 a.m. on a weekday. So the roads were completely empty. No traffic, no people, just silence. I was about 10 minutes from home, driving down Rue St. Louis, a wide road with 2 lanes on each side running along a river. It's poorly lit. At night, your headlights are basically the only thing letting you see what's ahead. I turned at an intersection where there's a convenience store and a McDonald's, then drove another 100 meters. That's when I saw something in the road. At first it was just a shape, a silhouette moving erratically in my headlights. Then I realized it was running, zigzagging right in the middle of the street. My first thought was that it had to be someone drunk or high. No sane person runs like that at night in an empty road. But as I got closer, the silhouette sharpened into a young woman, early to mid-20s maybe. She was waving her arms wildly, like she was trying to flag someone down, like she was begging. And instantly my brain went somewhere dark. I thought about all those horror stories, the ones where someone pretends to need your help, where stopping your car is the mistake you never come back from. So I decided not to stop. As I passed her, it only took a fraction of a second. I saw her face. She wasn't drunk. She wasn't acting. She looked terrified. I drove another second, maybe 2, then I did something that still makes my stomach twist. I slammed the brakes, made a U-turn, and went back. I stopped about 7 meters away and slowly cracked my window open. I didn't even get the chance to speak. She turned around and ran straight at my car. I panicked and rolled my window back up instantly. She grabbed the rear passenger door handle behind me and tried to open it again and again and again. The doors were locked. Through the glass, I could hear her screaming, "Call the police! Call the police!" My hands were shaking as I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. While it was ringing, I lowered my window just a few centimeters and said, Okay, calm down, I'm calling the police, you're safe." Something about that made her stop. She wasn't aggressive anymore. She wasn't erratic, just completely broken. She didn't look intoxicated at all, just pure panic. She told me she was going to walk back towards the convenience store at McDonald's I had just passed, about 100 meters away. She started walking. I followed her in my car, barely moving, maybe 2 kilometers an hour, still on the phone with the dispatcher. I explained everything. A young woman, running in the middle of the road, screaming for someone to call the police, clearly distressed but not drunk or high. By the time I finished giving our location, we reached the convenience store. Both the store and the McDonald's were closed, but there was no one else around. Just her and me, under harsh gas station lights. She leaned against the wall, crying, and for the first time I could really see her. And that's when I noticed her hands. They were completely covered in blood. Not smeared, not splattered. Soaked. I've never seen that much blood in my life. Her clothes were stained, too. My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it. I asked her quietly, "Ma'am, are you injured?" She shook her head. "No." I swallowed and asked, "Is that your blood?" She looked at her hands. Then she said, "No." My mind went blank. If it wasn't her blood, then whose was it? Before I could ask anything else, there was a long silence, maybe 10 seconds. Then she broke. Then she started crying. She started crying harder than before and said in a voice I'll never forget, "I'm so ashamed of what I did. They will never forgive me." Before I could even process what that meant, a police car pulled up fast. 2 officers got out. One of them took my name and phone number and told me I could leave immediately. The other officer went straight to the woman. I didn't argue. I drove away. That was the last time I saw her. It's been 2 months. No call from the police. No follow-up. No news article. No missing persons. No crime reported anywhere. Nothing. My friends and I have tried to make sense of it. We've come up with theories, some of them dark, like, for example, an infanticide, but every explanation falls apart somewhere. If the blood wasn't hers, that explains part of it. Her words explain another part, but why was she running in the road? Why didn't she call the police herself? Why was she alone? Why had there been zero trace of whatever happened? Sometimes I wonder if I helped a victim. Other times, I wonder if I unknowingly stopped for someone who had just done something unforgivable. And sometimes I wonder if the scariest part is that I'll never know which one it was. Ooh, spooky. I think the scariest part about both those stories is that they're both true. And what about you? Would you have stopped? Would you have turned around? Or would you survive a horror film? Once again, our first story was Watcher in the Woods by user pizzazansari from r/Let's Not Meet. And our second story was I stopped for a woman running in the road at 1:30 a.m. I still don't know what I saved her from or what I escaped. From r/True Scary Stories by user MCUnity_. Thank you both for being so kind as to let me read your stories at the Velvet Coffin. And thank you for coming to listen to your Deadtime story. Once again, I'm your host, Vivienne Von Dread. Now, goodbye. Get out. See you soon.